Welcome to Her Body and Mind podcast. My name is Dr. Sierra Fox. This is Amanda Sarich, registered clinical counselor. And today we're talking about moms and how they always say that their children is the reason why they're so tired. But when the reality is that there's a lot of other reasons why they could be tired. Mm-hmm. And this is what we want to talk about. Because in my practice, I see this all the time, women coming in, and sometimes they're not even bringing up their fatigue, but even when they do, either their doctor has already minimized the fact that they're tired or just saying this is part of life. This is just how things are. You have small children. Or they in their own minds have just said or accepted the fact that this is just how they should feel. And once I do blood work and do a little bit more digging, we find out that there's way more to the picture and there's actually tangible things that we can do to make changes so that they feel better doing all the things being a mom.
You mean women deny their own reality?
I know it sounds weird, but they do. It happens.
I'm shocked by this.
I know.
We're not conditioned to do this by society.
No, not at all.
Okay. So, yeah, I think this is a good idea for an episode.
Yeah, totally.
Talk about good things. So you talk about in your office, you see this all the time. I see this in my office all the time too, and probably a bit of a different way.
Totally.
Not so much like the blood work side, but I think women in general are fatigued, and some of that is children and just life. And we can talk about the societal expectations, etc. Mm-hmm. But why do you think, in your experience as a naturopathic doctor, why, what's the why? Why are women coming in and then just always diverting their symptoms to the fact that they're a mom and it's just normal and expected that they're tired? So that's a non-issue. Why are women doing that, or moms doing that specifically?
Yeah, I think we already kind of covered pieces of that. So social constructs, I feel that's just always been the way. It's moms should feel tired and burnt out. I think this starts at birth when moms have to get up to breastfeed, and that's part of the fatigue. It starts then. It's you're going to feel tired going through that process because you're waking up 5 times a night to feed your baby. And then they're older, but you have another kid, and then the cycle persists. So there's just this long period of time potentially where you have 1, 2, 3, 4 kids. And this is kind of what you're running through. So I think that just by nature of being a female and birthing the babies and having boobs, that it kind of just automatically puts women in that box of this is your role. You're supposed to be tired. Yeah. And then I think the healthcare system has also done a really good job to perpetuate the cycles, and that when moms come in for their, let's say, their well baby check at 6 weeks, and they might happen to ask how are you feeling to the mom, not just about the baby, and they'll be oh, I'm really tired. And it starts there. It's well, you're not sleeping through the night, that's normal. Mind you, they just lost 1,000 mils of blood in a birthing process, and they're iron deficient, so there's a lot of perpetuation in they're not even being told that there's actually physical reasons why they should be tired, even at that stage. That makes it all worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's so many other societal things where we are sort of taught to push down our own reality for the betterment of everyone else.
Yes.
I mean, even look at back in the day, what came up for me there is the Mother Little Helpers pills, which was
what is that?
The narcotics we used to give women.
Oh my gosh.
To keep
they were called Mother's Little Helpers?
Oh, yeah. To keep them going.
What were they? What was in the pills?
Wasn't it?
Are you talking about Oxy?
Yeah. No, there were so many different levels of addiction, but what were Mother's Little Helpers? Xanax?
Is this the 70s you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Whatever the actual thing is, which I should know but don't. But it's we drugged women to make them less fatigued, to make them function with the high demands of their life. And so I think there's 2 things here. It's the heavy demands on women are real and do cause fatigue.
Yeah.
And so I mean, a lot of the stuff in my office is sometimes just that, the demands on a woman. A new mom has more demands due to all of the things, and fatigue is normal. Mm-hmm. But then it's in this, it's where's that line for women where it's not normal, and we shouldn't just keep putting it all in the bucket of normal.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
So what are some of the things that make this over that line? So the line is fatigue is normal in some ways, although even the idea of what's normal for a woman gets kind of complicated. Hey, because it's what's normal is just like a woman doing it all and being in charge of everything, where maybe her male partner doesn't have as much responsibility. And so it's like, we could talk about that for 200 years.
You better be careful. People are going to keep commenting on how we hate men.
Yeah, we got our first hater on YouTube.
Yeah.
I was like, Sierra, we got our first hater.
We're so excited.
It was like, these two ladies need a man. And I thought, how ironic, because we do have men, and we
was
love
it a
them.
female or a male that commented?
I think it was by their handle a male, but how ironic that so often a cause of women's fatigue is the males. I love my husband and I love men, but there's truth to that. And so I thought it was just funny, but yay for having a hater.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
So why do we think that moms don't identify their fatigue, like, even though they're tired, as more than just their lifestyle? So we talked about that, but
I think the biggest thing, because as part of like a naturopathic intake, regardless if your primary concern coming into me is fatigue or not, and let's pretend it's not in a situation where they're like, oh, I have headaches and I get yeast infections, as an example of their primary health concerns. But as part of an intake, I do a broad assessment of their general health. So your energy is always looped into that. I always ask, which then often in this process, because we're talking about all the things, even though you're coming in for two things, I'm talking about your general health, your poop, your sleep, your diet, your stress, your family history relevant.
Yeah.
And so when fatigue crosses the table, and they've already given me a bit of context about how many kids they have, how busy their life is, like all the things. And then I ask, how's your energy? And they're like, oh, I think I'm a 9 out of 10. And I'm like, really? Like, do you really think that? Like, well, yeah. And I'm like, well, based off just physically what you described, you do in a day, and even like the sleep that you get, the kind of sleep that you're getting at, this is what you've told based off just your history. I know that you're more tired than that. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I was like, likely it's that you're just used to feeling this way. And that's the biggest thing, is that we just start to get used to operating at a certain level, that it then becomes normal, and that's your new base. And therefore that's almost like a 10 for you, because you know nothing differently. So I think it's just more so getting used to operating in a pretty crappy state, because you have to.
This makes me think of my thyroid issues. So I've had probably Hashimoto's disease for like, I don't know, my whole life. And I didn't realize it until I was in my 30s. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize how tired I was till I started taking Synthroid.
Right.
And then I was like, holy, like, and I'm a pretty energetic gal.
Yeah.
But it's like we always say, like, you don't know what's wrong until you fix it. Mm-hmm. And so like that's kind of this whole episode, is like, how do you know when there's something deeper happening, and how do we stop just like putting all of our symptoms in the bucket of normal, because maybe there's a better way to live?
Yeah, totally. It's not that we can change your life circumstance, because life is going to be life and it's always going to life. It's just, can we make you feel a little bit more optimal while you're doing life? And that's what it's about, where you use like actual things that you can do that require a little to no extra energy, that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a 7 out of 10 instead of a 5. Even that's like a significant improvement in like overall function.
Well, and I think it speaks to like, how do we stop and like actually check in with ourselves? Because another kind of reality for moms is that we are paying attention to the needs of everyone else.
Yeah.
So we're caregiving for our young teen, adult children. We're caretaking for our partners. We're caretaking for aging families. And what I see a lot is women and moms' inability to actually notice how they are.
Yeah.
Even when they come in my office for something more serious.
Yeah.
Part of this, I'm assuming, has to be being able to accurately rate what your body is feeling like, because without the ability to check in
and see, like, has it gotten worse or better?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which then is sometimes really hard, especially if you have a trauma history, because so many people, moms included, are very disconnected from their own lived experience. Mm-hmm. So that's where it like starts to build on each other. So how do you even like stop and be like, how am I doing?
Yeah. And sometimes you need someone else to like be that person for you, an unbiased, like second party, like myself or Amanda, where we can like really be like, well, this is everything that you just described, and therefore this is how you should be feeling, but this is what you're reporting. And it's often shocking for people, like, really? I'm like, you should be like sleeping on the floor right now. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I would be.
Think about colds. We talk about the man cold a lot. This
Oh
is
my
a good example for
gosh.
this.
Oh
and
my
every
gosh.
woman I know can mostly attest to this. It's like when a woman gets sick, I
Hey,
know
this is me
myself.
the last 2 weeks. Yes.
We just still get shit done.
Yes.
We do all the things. And then when men get sick, not all men, gosh, we're going to get another hater. But like when sometimes men get sick, like my beautiful husband, it's a lot more. Like, it's like, oh, I'm in bed. I can't do the things. Like the word man cold is out there for a lot of reasons. And it's kind of part of societal things. Men have been given permission in different ways to rest, and women haven't. And so even just like stopping and asking ourselves what we need, especially for moms, is just like it's not happening.
It's not okay. It's
Yeah.
not okay. Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we talk about then the actual deficiencies or things. I would say my top 5 things that I see in office outside of, let's just call it burnout, stress, children, whatever we want to call it. There's a lot of crossover there. Outside of those factors that a lot of women are assuming are their cause of fatigue, what are kind of the top things that I see on repeat that we can actually generally test for, except for one thing that I'll talk about at the end, that we can clearly see on lab work that is very validating, because you're like, oh, I have that number and this is really going on, which is nice. So first thing would be iron deficiency, the most obvious thing. We did a whole series on iron deficiency, so I won't get into too much detail with that. But yeah, common symptoms of iron deficiency would clearly be fatigue. Other things would be restless leg syndrome. So a lot of people think of magnesium when it comes to restless leg, but iron is the other thing that can happen. So just like feeling like you need to like move your leg a lot, especially at night. Shortness of breath or difficulty recovering from exercise. If you're feeling that you're getting more winded when you're doing some sort of cardio, even light to moderate, that can be a sign of it. Brain fog, worsening of ADHD symptoms, cold intolerance, or just like cold hands and feet. Hair loss, excessive hair shedding, huge symptom for iron deficiency. So those are, I would think, some of the bigger things. And then on Amanda's side, mental health is huge. So anxiety, depression, those things, just iron deficiency, you can start presenting that way just from being low. And again, you know, although there's situations that could be causing it, sometimes your deficiency is either exacerbating it, or you're like, I used to be able to handle situations and now I'm not, and I'm feeling more anxious about them. Why is that? Yeah.
So which is like being able to stop and like notice how you're feeling, notice when it started, things like that.
Totally. Second would be B12 deficiency. So this is another common one. So similar symptom list as what I listed for iron. So thinking about low energy, low moods, anxiety, brain fog, which same, I didn't mention that with iron, can be something that would differentiate a B12 deficiency. Not that you always have to have the symptom, but you would start to get tingling in your fingers and your toes, so numbness and tingling, because B12 is required for the myelination of your nerve cell sheaths. So you will start to get more neurologic symptoms. So a lot of it is a lot of central nervous system stuff. Even for dopamine and serotonin production, B12 is a huge player, or there's a lot of different Bs, but B12 is a big one. So yeah, a lot of more crossover with ADHD and mood stuff when it comes to B12 deficiency. And yeah, when we do our next episode, I'll talk about some nuances with testing, because sometimes your B12 can look normal when it's actually not and you're low. So we'll go over that next time. So that's B12.
Okay.
Yeah. Thyroid would be the other one. Amanda, what are your low thyroid symptoms that you can recall anyways?
Fatigue.
Yep.
Mine was more weight gain. Hair loss. My biggest one was fatigue though.
Yeah.
Like just like tired.
Yeah.
Quite tired. Like I think we've said in other episodes, when I was a teenager, I used to have to nap after high school. Like Classic. I'd go and just have a little sleep after high school.
Totally.
Because I had to. And so that felt normal, but it like was not.
No one else was needing a nap after school when they were 17 years old.
Just me.
Just you. Then next would be vitamin D. I want to talk more about thyroid. So something that I say to people when I try to describe low thyroid is everything's low and slow. So low metabolism, low moods, slow digestion. So constipation is a huge giveaway for hypothyroid. Everything's just sluggish and it's not moving the way that it should. Weight gain, because again, everything, your metabolism, when we talk about metabolic rate, you know, you look at like someone who might be on the thinner side, but you see them like eating all this like wildly unhealthy food and you're like, they have a high metabolism because they burn a lot of energy.
Right.
Versus someone who you might deem as low metabolism, maybe that they eat a really healthy diet, but they still carry more weight than others. That's low metabolism. So we use these kind of general terms. So running low thyroid will make you have a lower resting metabolism, but more so on the autoimmune side. So if you're Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune form of low thyroid, that's where you'll start to actually see that calorically, you're going to be burning less than your average person. So that's where the weight gain comes in with thyroid. So that's a few other nuances with low thyroid. Yeah. And then vitamin D. So it's interesting. We talk about like sunshine and vitamin D, but I feel like for most people, this doesn't really sink in. But again, because a lot of these deficiencies and reasons for fatigue, they have a lot of crossover symptoms. So vitamin D, you can be fatigued, you can lose your hair, you can have brain fog. Right. You know, there's so many crossover symptoms, but when you have someone who is, they're like, I know every winter I'm just going to get so hard with low moods.
Right.
They're like, it's on repeat. And we're like, we all hear about vitamin D, but then no one's like, maybe I should test it, see what the baseline level is. And the problem is some people are like, okay, well, I take vitamin D in the winter and it doesn't ever make a difference. So it's probably not that, but it's dose. How deficient, if you were deficient going into winter, there's no way you're catching up. You just had sunshine and you were low. Right. And now you're going into winter, you're going to get even less exposure to the sun. So it's going to be even lower. So you can't supplement 1,000 IUs of vitamin D and think that you're going to be optimal. Right. And that's where you do have to work with someone. So SAD, seasonal affective disorder, is like a differentiating factor for sure. And then pigmentation of your skin. So I have very fair skin and therefore I absorb more vitamin D from the little sun that I get in BC, Canada, versus someone who has darker pigmented skin will get even less vitamin D because it's like sunscreen. It blocks UV rays. And so people who have darker pigmented skin will get less vitamin D. So I'm looking at those populations and that's like a big giveaway. It's like more obvious that would be a deficiency, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then symptoms cross over with the other ones that we talked about.
Okay.
Yep. And then the last, which you cannot test for, would be perimenopause. And the reason I say perimenopause is more when you're getting symptoms that disturb your sleep.
Right.
So the pieces of peri where you're getting interruption in sleep and therefore you're more tired because of it. And this could start early in peri where your symptoms are very specific to like the week leading up to your periods, which could be more regular. So you could just notice that you're getting more insomnia. You might be getting some hot flashes or night sweats that could be waking you up. You could be having more difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. So just more little interruptions throughout the night could be happening. So those are just some key things to know in peri where just your sleep disruption alone can cause more fatigue. But again, that's another one where moms with kids, they're like, it's just my stress. It's just, there's just so many reasons why you're not sleeping well. But until you were like, oh, like, maybe it is worse that 7 days. Like maybe that is when my progesterone is dropping, that the symptoms are, maybe they're already there throughout the month, but they get worse. Like that's kind of the differentiating factor there.
Yeah. And it's not like, I think the thing with this is helpful because it's not like those other things don't exist. Like I don't think I've slept consistently through the night in like, I don't know, a decade.
Yeah.
Probably since my kids were young and my oldest is 10 and my youngest one still gets up very regularly, but it's still checking in and saying like, but is it worse than I think it is? And that's like that piece of saying like we as women, as moms are too good at just like not attending to our own needs. And it's like, I'm sure sometimes it's not any of these things and you get it checked and it's good, but it's still just like being able to check in and not just say like, well, I'm a mom, so like I'm supposed to feel like shit essentially, because I think there's a lot of women out there feeling terrible.
Yep. 100%. See it all day, every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
every day.
Yeah.
So it's how do you check in, which is like probably step one. And then like hearing some of this and asking yourself the question, like, is there something here that I could be looking into a little bit more? And we just kind of want those light bulb moments to be like, maybe I am tireder than everyone else I am interacting with.
Yeah.
Although comparison can be dangerous. But maybe it's not just that you're a mom. Maybe it's something else.
Or maybe you're all feeling just as tired.
Yeah.
So then you just think again.
Yeah.
It's normal.
100%. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it is not. Yeah.
So I think that kind of like wraps this topic anyways for today. Leave comments below. If you have any questions, definitely ask them. And as far as like next episode, what we'll be doing is talking more about specifics. Like if any of these things or these deficiencies are happening for you, we'll talk about specifics as far as what you could ask your medical doctor for, your naturopathic doctor or your nurse practitioner to test for, how to go about testing, what you want to do or not do before testing to make sure that test results are accurate, and even the timing in which they're done, because this all matters. So there's a lot of nuance with like testing the levels and making sure that the right things are tested, so you actually know for sure if you've had the right thing tested, and if it was, then most definitely it's either ruled in or ruled out as a factor for your fatigue.
Well, I can't wait to learn about all those things.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. And again, if you have any questions for us, please ask. Bye.
Bye.
Please contact your own healthcare providers before you make any changes to your health and wellness protocols related to your body and mind.